Rolling.
Well, welcome back, everyone.
I guess.
Welcome back. It has been probably 5 months.
It has been way too long.
Way too long.
We apologize.
I don't. A lot has happened. I went through puberty finally. I got pubes.
You're not going to tell about my pubes.
That's all I wanted to say on this podcast today, so.
All right, that's it, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night.
Welcome. We're going to keep this short and sweet. But hey, how's everybody doing? Good? Awesome. Good to know. Well, it is currently July 2021. So if you are listening to this in 2020, I am so sorry.
What?
Because we took a 5-month break. I think.
How can somebody be listening to this in 2020?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of time travel recently. Things can happen. But, yeah, welcome back to the greatest podcast on the planet, Prone to Ponder, where we ponder things and we're prone to pondering. That should be our tagline, man. Come on. Just the ideas are flowing. We're back in business. I feel good here. We're in our normal seats. Feel a little gay. But we're doing this. But we're doing something different now. We're doing it uncut.
Uncut.
Because it's a lot of work for you.
Okay, so just to fill everyone in, the biggest reason why I think we took such a long break is because it just ended up being so difficult to record, edit, and then actually release these podcasts. I mean, the recording part and the releasing part was fine, but the editing was taking like several hours per podcast because I was going through and I was cutting out that kind of stuff. You know, when I'm like pausing, I'm like, because you can hear my asthma.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I was cutting all that out. I was cutting out the cuss words, doing all that sort of stuff. We're going to go all natural.
Yeah.
We're going to go butt naked for all these. So, I'm sorry. But that's just the way if you want the podcasts, that's the way it's going to happen.
But I think we're a little bit more mature now with podcasting, even though we took a break.
Sure.
But even like the latest one, we were able to just kind of roll with it, you know?
Sure.
Just kind of roll, give a little bing-a-da-bing-a-da-boom. But yeah, I think, well, also, one of the topics I want to talk about tonight was being busy. Because, like, you're a lot busier than I am, at least I like to think so. But... or at least it used to be. That's the thing. You know, when life hits hard, you have to make priorities. You have to make priorities. Something's got to take center stage. Some things you got to put backstage. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Mm-hmm. And I think that why we had to put Prone to Ponder in the background because of the busyness. Like, I got a new job back in March. COVID was kind of ending. And we were really just starting to get into the swing of things again. You know, you've got ministry that you got to do, you know, the band, you name it. And I wanted to fill my time more with more functional things. And I think listening to a lot of podcasts recently on, like, you know, he and I really enjoy Jordan Peterson. He's a great guy. Very, very smart. He uses words that I didn't think existed, to describe things, I should say. And he does podcasting. He'll just ramble and he'll just, you know, do very intellectual talks, which if you're coming to this podcast for intellectual talks, I can't even say the word, intellectual talks, you need to find something else because this is not going to be it. We're going to talk about beer soon. Anyway, so I just felt that we should talk a little bit more about being busy. And I think you had a good topic that you're going to bring up about busyness, I think.
Well, I mean, yeah, so you told me, you know, before we were going to record this that you wanted to talk about busyness. And funny enough, I just started reading this book called, oh, crap. See, this is why we cut stuff out because I'm going to have to go look at it.
I'll fill the time. You know why I love pizza? Pizza, it has all the delicious flavors of pepperoni, sausage, cheese, red sauce, and he's back.
Okay, so this book that I just started reading last week is called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer. Comer, whatever. But anyway, the book is all about, you know, how our society is revolved around the idea of busyness. Mm-hmm. And the busier you are, the more successful you are. Yeah. Which is funny because it's backwards from what it used to be, you know, 100, 200 years ago. the more people you could have do things for you, and the more you can be relaxed, and the more you could be not doing something, meant the better off you are. Now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
The more business meetings you have, the more busy you are, the more stuff you have going on, the more successful you are.
Right. I see. And what was that?
I don't want to breathe into the microphone. You could hear I just got back from my run, and you could hear my asthma so bad.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's so many different people, and you're right. Like in our society right now, they say millionaires don't sleep until 8 a.m. every day.
Right.
Successful people don't sleep until 2 o'clock in the afternoon after partying out all night. And that's probably true. But you think of like Elon Musk. Elon Musk probably has 100 different things that he does all day. 10 different meetings, 10 different times by himself, innovating, working on spaceships, whatever it might be. But then you have people who are just like naturally successful. Like I don't think like Will Smith, who was an actor, who made most of his money through acting. Now he's sort of like doing entrepreneuring and producing, that he's just like constantly up and at 'em, working out all day, and business meetings and doing this and doing that. He's doing things that he loves, and I think people are incorporating busyness with things that they don't like. Whereas like you have these people who are busy all day doing things they like. Mm-hmm. I saw something, I heard a quote, and it's like the most successful people in the world are not the most motivated person, but they're the people that when it comes down to that, whether it's working out or doing your job or doing something that you don't want to do at that time and do it, are the most successful people. Because that brings you one step further to success, or whatever that might be for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting part of this book that I just read last night, and he's talking about how when society only had the sundial, how our day revolved around what we were allowed, the sun, the daylight, essentially. Right. And then how when the mechanical clock came out, how that changed everything, because now we could tell time. It didn't matter where the sun was. Our days revolved around a set time that was a little more accurate.
Right.
And then he talks about how the invention of electricity made people, like, completely changed everything even more, because now people weren't going to bed when the sun went down.
Yeah.
They were able to stay up later and work more and do all these little things. There's a little quote here. He says, "Here was a man's declaration of independence from the sun, new proof of his mastery over himself and his surroundings. Only later would it be revealed that he accomplished this mastery by putting himself under the minion of a machine with imperious demands all its own. When the sun set our rhythms of work and rest, it did so under the control of God. But the clock is under the control of the employer, a far more demanding master. In 1879, you had Edison and the light bulb, which made it possible to stay up past sunset. Okay, brace yourself for this next stat. Before Edison, the average person slept 11 hours a night.
Jeez.
Today, the average person sleeps 6.5 to 7 hours a night.
Yeah. Yeah, it put people on a schedule.
Yeah, that's sort of what this book is about that I'm reading, is just, the difference. Not saying that one, time period is better, because obviously we are far more advanced because of being able to, fill our life with busyness. Right. But it comes at a cost. It comes at, the cost of anxiety, and for a lot of people,
time management,
depression, time management, all these other sort of things. So, which is, coming more and more relevant these days. So
yeah, and I think anxiety existed back then in a different way. It's like people were saying,
like your kids would frickin' die on the farm.
Yeah.
Today, not so much.
Yeah. But it's like, even back then, people were like, well, we didn't know cancer existed. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. We just didn't call it cancer. We probably called it something else.
Called it demons.
Yeah. They would, make you drink crows. Ravens. I almost put crows and ravens again.
Makes you fight like a crow.
But leading into that point, like, we, so Christopher and I started a Bible study about 3 months ago, and just small group of people. And he and I had just been talking, whether just different topics, whether or not they're important or not, doesn't really matter. But I spoke a little bit on habits last week and why it's so important to build healthy habits instead of having goals. Goals, they're great to have because you'll meet that goal at some point.
Yeah, but you shouldn't say instead of. You should say as well as.
Sure, yeah, as well as having.
Because goals are very important.
They are. Like one of my main goals, someone told me because I'm in the process of losing weight. I'm down about 15 pounds, trying to get to a certain point. And I've done a lot of research on finding your why and understanding, what happens. Well, what is getting to a certain goal going to do for you? What is that weight loss going to get you? When you get to that weight, what do you think you're going to feel? Do you think you're going to feel content? Probably not. Most likely not. But what's a different goal? Well, I would love to be able to work out with my shirt on and feel confident in what I have underneath.
Okay.
To me, that's a big deal.
On or off?
Off.
Okay, you said
so.
on.
Well, confident of what's underneath my shirt.
You just want to look better.
Yeah.
In your own eyes.
I mean, who else wants? Yeah, exactly. So, but that doesn't have to be defined by a number.
I think you look better, Colin.
Thank you.
You were cutting the grass yesterday. I was
because I don't have a shirt on right now, doesn't it? We have no cameras to prove it. I don't feel like I'm better, but and that's me. It's funny. Body dysmorphia is such a big thing in fitness right now. Anyway, but building healthy habits and as well as having smart goals.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be like, I want to only eat one cookie a week. Like, no, okay, not a realistic goal, but that's a good habit. It's a good habit
for
to have.
you.
I don't eat cookies. I eat candy. But why it's so important to have healthy habits is, and it's something. It could be something simple because you're trying to. To me, it's like filling that time. I look at the mighty men, whether it's in Bible or in books or in real life or whatever it is, and they were not always that person for the longest time. They did certain things in their youth, whether it was intentional or non-intentional, or it was where they were built or bred or, parents instilled this into them. They became mighty people. Like there's a man at my job. He's literally 5 foot tall, and he's one of the mightiest people in our company. And he is a fisher of men. The things that he's done, he's only 32 years old, and the things he's done in 10 years of his life is triple what most men do in their entire lives. So I look at people like that and I go, okay, well, if he is capable of doing that, I'm capable of doing so much more.
Because you're taller.
Because I'm taller. Oh my gosh, I hope he doesn't listen to this. We're not friends on Facebook, so it's okay. At least not yet. So I look at that and I think, okay, well, what healthy habits do I have to do to get to that point? And there's so many different things you can do, and individually it's different for everyone. But like reading a book, 10 pages a day of a mind advancing, that's a bad term, but like a mind entrepreneur book is what
stimulating.
Yeah, mind stimulating book, whether it's like before bed or whatever it might be. I always feel like I'm kind of a sorry, it's gonna be uncut. I always feel like I'm a little bit less. I don't like to be mind stimulating at night because then I'm up all night just thinking, and nobody wants that. I shouldn't say nobody. I don't want that. So I tend to try to do more of my mind stimulating in the morning. So reading at night is like a lot harder for me. I just want to be mind numbing at night so I can go to sleep because I have a lot of sleep problems. So reading 10 pages in a book is good. Working out is another great thing to be disciplined. Even if you're not, like, I knew a guy when I worked at a gym, he lost like 65 pounds and he wasn't going to look like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was going to look like he was going for stress. He's like, this is my stress reliever. He was a lawyer. He literally sweated over everything.
Dude, a lot of the lawyers I know are the most fit people I know.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Just because they got that game,
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so that's busyness.
Busyness.
You have anything else to say about that?
If the devil can't get you bad, he get you busy.
That's true.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's true.
Make sure you're doing healthy busyness.
Yeah, I also read in this book that, most of the time, whenever we make mistakes, it's because we're in a hurry.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I think about a lot of the major mistakes in my life, and I'm like, I think that's true.
Yeah.
That's for almost everything I could think of. That's true. Whether I was in a hurry to, be successful, get somewhere on time, do something that I wasn't exactly ready for, whatever it is, this idea of not having enough time, I think is so like built into us as a society. And, which is, it's interesting because as a Christian, we have this sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Urgency, the sense of urgency, right? Because we understand that, okay, this isn't here. We're not here forever. This world isn't here forever. We have a job to do. Yeah. Let's get her done, right? But on the other side of that, there's like, okay, well, we have to understand that this is, some things happen in God's time and some things God allows and doesn't allow. And it's a strange balance there. And I guess that's where like trust and faith come in. Yeah. But I think that's one of the hardest parts for me is like, okay, so here we go. Over the course of these 5 months that Colin and I have been on a brief hiatus.
It's called sabbatical because we've been advancing.
Sure. Until I say this, I got a DUI.
Well, some of us have been advancing.
Yeah. And through that, I have learned an incredible amount about myself and the people around me. And, I've really come to understand the people around me more, understand myself more. And I've been making a lot of big changes in my my mental game and my physical game and all this sort of stuff, and spiritually, of course. But when it comes down to it, it's like patience in this has been the hardest thing for me, because the justice system is so complicated. And I would say, in my own opinion, it's very slow. The fact that this thing happened in May, and I just spoke to the county clerk today, and they say I can't even get an evaluation until September 2nd.
Wow.
And then after that, then I'm going to have another court date, and then I'm going to have another, 5 or 6 months of all this other stuff. It's like, and through all of this, they don't tell you what is going to happen. They don't tell you what, to expect. They don't tell you what fees, what, everything that comes from making a mistake. Yeah. And you would hope that they do their very best to say, okay, you made a mistake. This is how you fix it. This is how you.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, you got it.
This is how you fix that mistake. This is something that you can do to improve upon yourself. And, obviously you should be held accountable for the mistake that you made. Yeah. Before anyone gets worried, it was nothing serious. I mean, yes, it was a DUI, but nobody got hurt.
Nobody's dead. Cars are fine.
Yeah, it was literally, I just got pulled over for speeding when I was leaving a wedding. So don't be worried about that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like up in the air with that. Yeah. And I have found that I can't lean into a lawyer to tell me, it's going to be okay. Like, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. Because they don't even know exactly everything that is going to go down. Family and friends can't really tell me exactly what's going to go down. They could say that, yeah, we're here with you and we love you, through all of this, and we're going to be there to help you. But the only person, or God is the only person I could go to who can give me any sort of peace in this, to say, look, this will pass, So anyway, when it comes down to busyness and hurry, the other side of that is patience. And I have learned an incredible amount of patience over these past 2 months.
It's funny you say that, because my friend Katie and I, we've been talking this year, because this year's kind of started off a little rough for me, at least. And I really felt as a Christian, I do feel like I have conversations with God, more like he tells me what to do and I just listen. But he really told me to be patient, and that has been sort of like I wouldn't say my mantra, but the reoccurring theme of at least these past 8 months of the year, from December to now. And whether that's patience with a job, with success, with fitness, whatever that might be, because when something ends or something bad happens, and he and I've talked a little bit about the DUI, like I'm the person that's like, okay, let's get this going. Like, come on. Like I'd rather take the storm head on.
Yeah, pull the Band-Aid off.
Right. Instead of looking.
Give it to me hard. Say, yo, this is what you got to do.
Right.
This is how you fix it.
Right.
This is what you need to change in your life, and this is what you need to do. And if I can just know those things, then I can apply them and move on.
Right.
But they don't really let you do that.
No.
They just, dangle that hook in front of you.
And that's with a lot of things too.
Sure.
Whether it's like with success, whether it's like, okay, well, I want to be, like I was mentioning a couple minutes ago, like I want to be a mighty person. That's not going to happen overnight. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time, it takes effort, it takes resilience and perseverance and grit to just wake up every day and get to that point.
I love that word.
Grit?
Grit.
I love grit. I should give you my book, Grit. So the hard thing about patience is not knowing the end goal. Like, what are you being patient for? Like, obviously, what you're being patient for. You're being patient for the end goal of what's going to come out of this DUI, whether it's the money or, having to blow into a breathalyzer every time you're in your car. You don't know because there's so much uncertainty. And that's sort of like with what life is. You have to be patient, and you have to slow down your life so you're not so busy that you make a mistake. And I think when we do make mistakes, either that are predestined or they're not, there's a purpose to these mistakes to kind of remind us and go, hold on a second, you're moving way too fast. You need to slow it down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where patience comes into play. And man, I'll tell you what, like having a structured day, like I have a calendar up until about the time I clock out at night for my work, like what I'm doing at each time, because time is valuable in my profession. Every time is valuable. How many phone calls, how many people, like if I'm going to be doing this project, I got to make sure I'm on this project. If I'm not done with this project, I got to go to the next thing. I can't do that. And so being patient with the grind of what you're doing right now, and this could be applied to anything, you're trying to better yourself as best you can. So when you hit that hurdle, that next hurdle with this DUI, you're taking it on with your chest high, shoulders back, with confidence. Yeah. And you're not like scrambling like, oh shit, I didn't do this.
Right.
Oh my gosh, like I don't have the money for this. Like you're slowing it down. You understand there's this point, you see that. You understand that, but you're working on yourself in the process. Mm-hmm. And I think that could be applied to anything, because for you see that hurdle coming for the most part. I mean, you didn't see the next one's coming. Right. The first one was like 2 minutes, like, yeah, here's your next court date. And you're like, what? But for some people, they don't see that. Some people, like for me, like, what's my next hurdle? What's that going to be? I don't know. Like, I feel like I've jumped over a few this year, and I've taken it not confident, and I've taken it scrambling and freaking out to the point where I'm like, okay, got to slow it down. Got to work on myself. Got to be better than what I'm doing right now. So I implore you, if you are struggling with a hurdle, or if you're like have all this anxiety going into something, slow it down. Like you have the time. If you got PTO at your work, or if you have the ability to slow down, slow it down. There's no rush.
Take a Sabbath.
Yeah, take a Sabbath. Take a sabbatical. Work on yourself. Like I took a long time off of social media because it was draining me. So when I go back to it, I don't have to rely on it. And I could walk in there and go, okay, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, okay, cool. What else am I going to do to fix to move forward today?
Yeah.
That's my thought process every morning. What am I doing? Okay, I'm going to go work out. Awesome. That's how I'm moving forward today. Oh, what's next? Okay, I'm going to eat a protein shake because that's moving me forward today. All in all, you just got to be patient with what you're doing.
For sure.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
See any good movies lately?
We saw the new movie yesterday. What is it? The Tomorrow War?
Yeah.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I did too.
I thought it was a fun movie.
It's worth it.
We saw Fast 9.
Yeah, that was okay.
That was, it was better than I expected it to be. I mean, okay, I went into it with super low expectations because I thought 8 was garbage.
Yeah.
But this one was definitely more fun than 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a little bit, and I say like grain of salt grounded,
Yeah.
because at the beginning you're like, okay, we're getting back to like the roots, we're going back, okay, and then it's like, oh my gosh, we're in space.
Yeah.
Why did we have to go to space? Was that necessary?
Spoiler alert.
I don't care.
But yeah, anyway.
1 out of 5.
If you go into it just looking to have a good time, I think you will.
And that's he and I are big movie buffs, and having the ability to go into a movie now and enjoy a movie and sit down.
Oh man, the theaters, nothing like it.
It's great, and that's what I just love, being on the other side of COVID. Whether or not you believe it or not, we're on the other side. It just feels good to be on that train.
On the up and up again.
Yeah, and like, Black Widow's coming out Friday, and he and I are pretty pumped about that.
We're seeing it Thursday.
And what's with no midnight showings?
Yeah, I'm kind of pissed about that too. I remember back, when we were in high school and middle school and all this stuff, and we're like, oh man, new movie's coming out. We got to go, Thursday night at midnight.
Yeah.
And now it's like Thursday at
6 p.m.
5:30 in the afternoon. You can go see this movie. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I remember.
Where's the fun in that?
I remember going to bed at like 1:30 in the morning to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to school.
Yeah.
Like that was the hard shit. That's what we did back then.
I mean that.
Hey, back in my day. We're those guys again.
That's how you knew you were hardcore back then, though.
Yeah.
It's like now you could see a movie at 5:30 in the afternoon and say, "Oh, I saw it before anyone else." It's like, yeah, but did you camp out like we did?
Yeah.
Did you stand in line for 12 hours like
Yeah.
we did? No,
Because I didn't do that, but now it's like you can watch those movies online.
So here's the thing: what midnight showing movie do you remember most vividly, or what was one of your most favorites? I guess midnight showings.
Honestly, like when we saw the Dark Knight trilogy, when the third one came out, because it started at 5 p.m.
It was like 10-hour days.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
because we saw the Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and then Dark Knight Rises, which was when that third one came out, and it started at 5 and it ended at 2 in the morning because that's when the last one came out, or midnight. And it was like you got to sit through the first movie. You just were like, and you were in like the room was packed. You're
completely full,
and it was like $20 the whole night.
Yeah,
it was completely full. You got to watch all 3, and everybody's like cheering. Everybody's like having a good time.
You had to crap like 4 times because you ate 8 buckets of popcorn.
Yeah, and then you got like a deal on the popcorn. It was like $10,
unlimited refills.
But then like when we would go, I think we had like an hour intermission or like a 2-hour intermission. I think. It was like an hour.
I think it was an hour intermission.
So we'd like run to Chipotle, get Chipotle, and then come back. Like that was a great experience. That's I've seen a lot. I remember seeing like the Transformers movies at midnight, and like walking out and seeing friends like from high school or from school. I'm like, hey, did you like the movie? But other than that, like I don't really remember.
I remember Harry Potter 7 and 8, seeing midnight showings of that one or those two. Those were really fun. I also remember when they were re-releasing the Star Wars,
the Phantom
Menace in 3D. Oh my gosh, I remember going to see that, the midnight showing, bringing my lightsaber.
Yeah,
that was a good time.
I saw the Paranormal Activity movie. It was my sister was like 20 and I was like 16, I think. I was 16. And she wanted me to go with it, like to go see it. And so I couldn't go in there without her. And I remember, like, like you'd sneak into a movie and then you're like sitting there like paranoid.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be
Somebody's
here.
going to kick me out.
And this
like
is
the worst thing that happened is somebody, like an 18-year-old comes
Yeah.
up to you and they're like, hey, dude, you got to get out of here.
Yeah. I just remember going to a midnight showing of that movie with her and her like 2 friends, I think. And I remember not being scared of the movie, but being scared of like somebody catching me. Cause like, but like I looked 25 when I was 16 and now I look 35 at 26. So, I just remember sitting there like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get caught. I'm totally going to get caught. And I was like sweating. And then halfway through the movie, you're like, this is not that bad. Yeah. But movies are ever changing, and now it's all streaming. And
What's the first rated R movie you ever saw?
Star Troopers.
Really?
Yeah, they fight the bugs.
Yeah,
It's a
man.
dark movie.
Seriously,
The
though.
scene that messed me up was the giant like slug thing, like
Oh,
stick the
yeah.
tentacle in
With
its
the-
head,
Yeah,
sucked its brains out. That messed me up.
that was nasty.
That messed me up.
I think the first rated R movie I saw was The Passion, and I
Oh, it
was
could be
way
worse.
too young to watch
Yeah,
that
because it
movie.
came out in 2004.
Yeah.
Fourth grade.
And my parents are like, "You have to see this."
Yeah.
Um,
My mom was like, "You're never seeing that movie." I didn't see it till I was like eighth grade, high school, I think.
yeah, that messed me up as a kid.
It's a pretty dark movie.
But the first PG-13 movie I ever
Yeah.
saw was Spider-Man.
I think that was mine too, like the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Tobey.
remember I saw that one at midnight. I think that was my first midnight showing because I fell asleep. Because I was like, I'm not.
Because you were
used to
like
being-
6.
Yeah. It's like, why are we here? And I remember specifically, my mom was like whacking me to wake up, and she
Yeah.
was like, "He's swinging!" Like at the end when he swings through the buildings, he's
Yeah.
swinging. I'm like,
Are there any PG movies that you saw as a kid that sort of like messed you up because they were too scary for you, but they were still PG?
was the Labyrinth? Was it the Labyrinth
With
with Bowie?
with Bowie, yeah,
Yeah, that movie messed me up. Was that PG?
yeah, I think
It might
so.
be G.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
might
that
be.
movie messed me up. But also,
Dude, there's some creepy creatures in that movie.
yeah,
man.
what was James and the Giant Peach?
Oh yeah,
That movie messed me up. Freaked me
why?
out. I don't know. Like the claymation,
Mm.
like it was. I think it was a stop motion. I think it was stop motion.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
same
it
thing.
freaked me out for some reason.
Yeah, do you remember Galaxy Quest
Yeah,
with Tim Allen?
that's a good movie.
Oh my gosh, those aliens!
Never give up, never surrender.
Those aliens that are like cannibals.
Oh yeah,
Those friggin' I still have nightmares about those
Yeah,
things.
I
Their
just-
teeth are so sharp. Oh,
I remember that. What are this? We love it. Yeah, it's a good movie. It's a funny movie.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of anything else that like really messed me up as a kid, but
Anastasia.
that's a good movie though.
That was another one that I'm like still like
Yeah.
I don't really like watching that movie.
I was watching something about like the early 2000s movies,
Mhm.
like was like prime cinema.
Yeah.
Like when
Late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah,
man?
like prime cinema.
Well, it's because that's when all the new tech was coming out,
Yeah.
and movies weren't trying to be. They weren't trying to sell tickets.
Yeah.
They were trying to push the technology.
Yeah.
And they were trying to push storytelling by using this new technology, which is,
Yeah.
I think that's what ended up developing so many cool movies and so many
Yeah.
cool stories is they're like, okay, we can finally try doing this because we have the technology to
Yeah.
tell this story in a way that fits our vision,
Right.
Like I always, how much I love the movie Treasure Planet.
Yeah. The animation in them.
The animation. So it's the only Disney movie to use all 3 versions of animation. They use 3D animation, 2D drawed and what is it called? I mean, sketched animation, like 2D animation, 3D
Yeah.
animation, and deep canvas animation, which is like if you think of Tarzan,
Yeah.
like that's deep canvas and 2D
Yeah.
animation. This movie, Treasure Planet, uses all 3 versions of
Yeah.
animation, which is the only one to do that, and it is the last Disney movie to ever do that. That movie tells such a great story, and I still cry every time I watch it.
then they went all the digital, right?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they started moving into just straight 3D
Yeah.
and exclusively 2D animation, but
Yeah.
the really high res stuff.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that, but when you watch something like that or Titan AE,
Oh,
was
I
pretty-
love that movie.
pretty
I got
similar.
that one on the shelf over there. We should watch that later.
but it's
Is that Matt Damon?
is it Matt Damon?
I think it is.
Oh, maybe.
Or the other guy. What's the other guy?
I
who
just
looks
watched
like Matt
that movie
Damon?
not too long ago. I don't know, but they it's pretty similar to that canvas kind of
Deep
sketching.
canvas, yeah.
And I think, there's so many movies like that came out around that time that was
Mhm.
like that animation, and I get it. But now cinema is so all about that awe factor now. It's
Yeah.
like what can we tell? Seeing Fast 9, I'm like, okay,
Well,
this is okay.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing that sucks is it's and I guess, I don't know, this might not be a very good argument, but I feel like because it's so easy to create content these days,
Yeah,
let's say exclusively like TV and film, because it's so easy to create content. There is so much content out there. It's hard to find something original.
Yeah.
And, when I say original, I don't mean like an original concept. I mean like an original beat by beat story.
Yeah.
So like you can have an original concept, like that's not that hard to find, but finding a storyline that has an original, like that it's not just a first, second, and third act.
Yeah.
That it's the hero being called, the hero's journey, and then the hero completing a task.
Yeah.
It's like that's pretty much almost every single movie.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really hard. Is like just because there's so much content out there, it's hard to find something that is truly original. What's the last really original movie that like knocked you off your feet that you're like, dang, that was really, really cool?
Well, before you say that,
or a TV show.
Well, before you say that, before you say that, what came to mind was how revolutionary Avatar was, the movie, and how like CG like wild and creative it was, and then people were like, "Oh, it's just space Pocahontas."
Pocahontas.
Yeah, it's just space Pocahontas. You say that 5 times fast. Space Pocahontas. I can say it once. And people chalked it up to that, and I was like, guys, do we have to compare everything? Yeah, anyway. Something that was like really... Do you have anything?
We've watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that was like prime cut.
Yeah. Something that I do... I didn't... Here's it's going to be a little contradictory here.
Okay.
So we watched this TV show, The OA.
Oh, yeah.
And that, I would say...
We're about to lose our subscribers to this.
When it comes to beat by beat, like storytelling,
yeah,
that was a truly original, like, concept that was just kind of bonkers and strange and weird.
Yeah.
And we ended the first season being like, okay, that was something.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really enjoy it, which I guess is why filmmakers follow the the classic beat by beat storylines, because it makes money and people actually enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not. I mean, if I had more time to think about it, I'm sure I could find something. But if there's anything that the listeners that you think is truly original that you think Colin and I should watch and maybe we could talk about, send us a message on the old Instagram.
Yeah.
It might be a while until we find out.
I think I pulled my cord. Oh, my bad. Banging on a budget over here.
Okay. Shoot us a message on Instagram. I think it's... Do you know what our Instagram handle is?
Prone to Ponder, I think.
It's been so long. Prone to Ponder Podcast.
Yeah.
Just hit us up there.
What's going on here?
Okay. Hit us up on the Prone to Ponder Podcast on Instagram. It might take us a while to find our login information and actually log back in.
It might be saved.
But yeah, we would love to hear what you guys think is some original TV shows or movies out there.
I'm open to anything.
Yo, you know what's... I mean, they've heard us rave about this before, but Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah?
Truly an original concept.
Something
that, every chance that the protagonist has... There's always a... how do I say this? He has that option to sort of be normal and take the low road. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Every single time he takes the high road.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't often see. And he doesn't just take the high road and it's like, oh, well, he did that again. It's like, it's actually a twist and it's actually enjoyable every single time.
Yeah.
And you root for somebody who is just extremely optimistic, which normally in movies that comes off as, in movies and TV shows, that comes off as annoying. He doesn't come off as annoying. And it's probably just because it's Jason Sudeikis. But
yeah. Or gets crushed at some point. Like you see him turn into a different person. But in the show, he goes through so many different trials, whether, I don't want to spoil too much, but he goes through like a divorce, and then he goes through, this entire country, like basically hating him.
Right.
And he still keeps a good head on his shoulders. Like gives you a good, I remember watching and learning so much about being a person and how much optimism can be so important to your outlook and to what people see around you. Like my friend told me, she's like, people like being around you. Like you resonate that I'd like to be around that person. And but you never see that because no one ever, we're our biggest critics. We're always going to see the biggest problems in our lives, and we're never going to, see those things. But when somebody else on the outside tells you that, you're like, okay, then it kind of gives you that little extra optimism to keep going and moving forward. So Ted Lasso, great show. If you like soccer, if you don't, whatever.
We still have a Believe poster above our door.
It's been up there for like 5 months.
Yeah, slap it every single day.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ted Lasso, we only got like 15 more minutes here because then I got to hop on a call.
Yeah.
But speaking of this movie or this TV show,
yes,
the person who does the soundtrack for the show, Marcus Mumford, changing into a bit of politics here. You ready for this?
Yeah, here we go.
About Winston Marshall, if everyone hasn't heard. So Winston Marshall was the former banjoist and guitar player, songwriter for the band Mumford & Sons.
Mm-hmm.
And he, got on Twitter a couple months ago during the, mid-pandemic and read a book and literally just got on Twitter and said, I really enjoyed reading this book, period. Yeah. I'm condensing what he said a little bit, but essentially that's what he said. Anyway, the mob came after him and said, okay, we got to cancel this guy because he's saying that a book that criticizes the far left is a good book. And
far left or right?
The book criticizes the far left.
Right.
So cancel culture came after him and like, this guy's obviously alt-right, which is like, okay. And he came out later and he's like, how does it make sense that just because I say I enjoyed reading a book that criticizes the far left, how does that mean that I am automatically far right? He's like, I also criticize the far right. He's like, why can't anyone be in the middle anymore? Yeah. And not even the middle, like be left, be right. Who cares? Obviously, both far ends of the spectrum are pretty dangerous places to be. Now, good thing we're not big enough to get canceled for saying that.
Yet.
Good attitude. Yeah. But yeah, so, that's something that I think is really scary today in our culture that, and we're seeing it with everybody, but he's not even a politician. He's not even really an influencer. He's a guy who plays banjo in a band.
Right.
And
a successful band.
And the band doesn't make political music. Yeah. Like the band doesn't, it's Mumford & Sons.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, why do we have to cancel this guy just because he has an opinion?
Right.
Anyway.
Well, I think it even in our level, I don't even want to do level because that's acting like we're poor because we are, but being where we are, like if I'm so afraid to say, like I'd be like, oh, hi, how are you, ma'am? And be like, it's not ma'am, it's they. Like, and getting canceled that way. I don't
think they would say they. How are you, they?
No, seriously, that's like the gender pronoun thing. Like,
yeah, but you wouldn't say they.
You
would say, how are you, person?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and that's the problem. It's like I feel like, and you can't
win with them,
right? And with they, I'm sorry, we're gonna get canceled.
Yeah,
but you can't. And I'm not saying because I feel like I'm more in the middle of things, and on like the far left and right, whatever you want to call it. But I don't. It's not that I don't hate conflict, but I don't want to get caught into a situation where I have to fight you over your ideals. Because at the end of the day, whatever you want to call yourself, I don't care.
Right. We live in a free country.
Right.
Everyone has the right to their own ideology.
Go for it. I don't care. Yeah. But when you start attacking me about what you need to be called, you got a problem with yourself. Go into the mirror and figure it out. Like just because I won't acknowledge you for what you classify yourself as, it shouldn't be that big a deal. At the end of the day, you shouldn't give a shit about what people think of you. If you want to proudly be trans or gay or bi or straight, white, black, whatever, Asian, wear that proudly. Like be confident in who you are so you don't have to be ashamed and upset about it. And I understand people. There are people who get discriminated, bullied, attacked, beat down because of what they think or what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you deserve to fight for what you believe in. I totally believe in that. But there's a time and a place to do that.
At the end of the day, what it comes down to is just like love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And if somebody has a different ideology than you, and if somebody has a different opinion than you don't have to hate them.
Yeah.
You don't have to, argue with them.
Yeah.
You just say, okay, I love you because you're my neighbor.
Yeah.
I love you because we live in a free country, and thank God that we have had people who have fought for this country that we can live the way that we want to live.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with you.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me.
Yeah.
And if we can't find some sort of common ground, then maybe let's just not talk to each other.
But it doesn't mean I hate you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what I think the line gets skewed. It's like, just because I don't agree with you, like he and I fight all the time about other things. And it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we're not going to agree on it, but that's okay. Like, he's still going to make me dinner every night.
That's right.
He's still going to, tuck me in bed every night, brush my
Exactly.
teeth. That's how we work.
Yeah.
Judge us all you want. But going back to what you're saying, love your neighbor and pray for those who trespass against you, or whatever that
Persecute you.
Persecute you. 'Cause that's all it is. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? If we were to love more in life, love others more, stop hating on each other, stop calling people out for their things, which there is a time and a place for that too as well. But if you love more, this place will get a lot easier to live in.
Yeah, I agree. Not everybody, and I think, how do I say this? So, my opinion lies similarly to Jesus being iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And for those who have ears to hear, not everybody has the ears to hear.
Yep.
And iron sharpening iron, meaning brother to brother. If you are not close with somebody, then maybe don't try to call them out on their bullshit, because they're not going to hear it.
Yeah.
And those are the people who, don't have the ears to hear you.
Right.
I'm not going to go, get on Twitter and call somebody a racist that I don't know.
Right.
And, try to cancel people because it's funny. That does actually work. But it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Right? Because, this world is just getting crazier and crazier. Speaking of which, you just applied for your FOID card.
Yeah.
I just got mine updated. You want
Yeah.
to talk about guns for a second?
Yeah. What'd you get, a gun?
No, are you planning on getting a gun? You just got your FOID card.
Well, when it comes in, probably, yeah.
Yeah, what kind of gun are you gonna get?
Just get a little
A big one?
Glock 22. I don't need to blow through me, my neighbor, and the car and drop the engine out of the car across the street with a Magnum.
Why not? This is America.
Don't call me stupid. Copyrighted. Oh, we're shut down now.
This is America. Yeah.
I think I think it's fair to be prepared. Be prepared.
Yeah. So it's funny because everyone, a lot of the people, not everyone, a lot of people that I talk to that are anti-gun,
Yeah.
are like, well, you don't need a AR-15, to hunt deer. It's like, well, I'm not trying to hunt deer.
Yeah.
And I don't have an AR-15. And I probably won't ever have an AR-15.
No.
But it's the First Amendment is not so that we can hunt things
Or murder people.
It's so that we can protect ourselves from not even our neighbors, but from the government.
From tyranny.
The whole reason why the Second Amendment exists is because they did not have that when they were under the rule of Great Britain.
Yeah.
And they never wanted that same kind of a political system
Yeah.
to be in place so that government can oppress their people.
Yeah.
And I think the founders did it right by having that Second Amendment in there. And
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what people say when they listen to this podcast.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm a firm believer that this country was founded on great values, but we're humans and we're not perfect, and we make a lot of mistakes, and we're going to continue to make mistakes.
Yeah. The shitty thing is you're a bad guy if you believe that America's a great place these days. And you're a bad guy if you believe that America does have good values.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this?
And that's the problem is if you look for the bad, you'll see the bad. If you look hard for the good, you'll see a lot of good.
Yeah, but you shouldn't ignore the bad either. It's like you see the bad and address it, sure, but yeah, I don't know. We don't need to get into that. We only got 5 minutes.
We'll talk about gun safety in the next one. This is like you hold a pistol.
Well, we got a few minutes left here. Do you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm just glad to be back in the seat and talking a little bit more. It's like blinking, it's over, and one episode down. Hopefully, we can get back into a schedule here.
I think now that we're gonna, that we're committed to doing it this way.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna be able to put more episodes out more frequently.
Yeah.
We'll go back to leaving the microphones upstairs.
Yeah. I have to go look for them again.
And hopefully we could put out another episode within the next week. And we hope you guys all enjoyed this. Again, if you have any suggestions,
or if you want to be on the podcast, COVID's over, we can come over now.
Yeah, if you got anything that you want to talk about, or that you want us to talk about, please let us know. Yeah. Instagram or shoot us an
Text
email.
Me. My number is 630. I'm just so lonely. Just text me.
Send nudes.
Says the guy in a relationship.
Not to me, to you.
Oh, I'll just forward them to you.
I'm speaking specifically to Chris Meller. Send nudes to Colin.
I'm okay with that. I'll send them to my mom.
Good thing she doesn't listen to this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we love you all. Thanks again for listening, and thanks for hanging in there. And we promise it will be a long, long while until there is another break as long as the last one was.
Yes.
So, thanks again. Be strong. Be courageous.
Have a great week.
Have a great week, everyone. You got this. We will talk to you later. Good night.